Go ahead.
He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying unto thee, will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance, when they were but a few men in number, yea, very few, and strangers in it, when they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people. He suffered no man to do them wrong, yea, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, touch not mine anointing, and do my prophets no harm.
Talking about Israel now. Go ahead. His chosen.
Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land. He brake the whole staff of bread. He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant, whose feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in irons until the time that his word came. The word of the Lord tried him. The king sent and loosed him, even the ruler of the people, and let him go free. He made him lord of his house and ruler of all his substance, to bind his princes at his pleasure, and teach his senators wisdom. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies. He turned their heart to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants. He sent Moses his servant and Aaron whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against his word. He turned their waters into blood and slew their fish. Their land brought forth frogs in abundance in the chamber of their kings. He spake, and there came divers sorts of flies and lice in all their coasts. He gave them hail for rain and flaming fire in their land.
Skip down to 38.
Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of them fell upon them. He spread a cloud for a covering and fire to give light in the night. The people asked, and he brought quails and satisfied them with the bread of heaven.
Skip down to 42.
For he remembered his holy promise in Abraham his servant. He brought forth his people with joy, and his chosen with gladness. He gave them the lands of the heathen, and they inherited the labor of the people, that they might observe his statutes and keep his laws. Praise ye the Lord.
So when the Lord brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, he did all this, setting up a nation, and he said so that they may keep his laws. This is what he did when he set this nation up. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4, and we're going to read 5, 6, 7, and 8 here. So 5 through 8. Deuteronomy chapter 4, and we're going to read verse 5 through 8.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nation.
So he's telling the children of Israel, you do them, because this is going to be what you going to show to the rest of the nation, that you got this law and these commandments and this your wisdom. He's telling the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely the great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who have God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?
So this is what the Lord was doing when he brought the children out of Egypt. He was giving them this law so all these other nations can look and say, well, what kind of nation is this? That God has God so nigh to them and has such great statutes and such great judgments. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Because, the children of Israel today, nobody recognizes the true children of Israel. But we're going to find out that something happened. When he gave them these commandments, something happened. Start at verse 1. Deuteronomy 28 and started at verse 1. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Okay, so he's like, look, if you keep these commandments, and he's talking to the same children that he had brought up out of Egypt, he like, look, I'm going to bring you high upon all the nations of the earth, right? But then they didn't, well, we're going to find out what the other side to that is. Let's skip over to verse 15. Go ahead.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Go ahead.
Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep.
So the Lord talking to the children of Israel, and he like, okay, well, on one hand I can give, on the other hand I can curse. So he said if they didn't keep these commandments, he's going to start cursing, right? Let's skip over to verse 22. Go ahead.
The Lord shall smite thee with the consumption, and with a fever, and with the inflammation.
So he say I'm going to start putting sicknesses upon you. You know what I'm saying? Let's skip down to verse 25. Go ahead.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies.
So he's like, I'm going to smite you before your enemies. Go ahead.
Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
So he's like, I'm going to remove this people into all the kingdoms of the earth. This is what the Lord told the children of Israel if they didn't walk in his ways, right? Let's see some more stuff he told them, because, you know, we only know of one nation that got removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, and we talking about the man of color. He all over the place. He done been removed into all the nations, kingdoms of the earth. But let's keep reading. You can read all this on your own time. It would be good to. But let's skip down to verse 30.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thy ox shall be slain before thy eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thy ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
So at first he's going to give him all this good, but he like, if you can't handle this, if you're going to go out here and just start sinning, then I got to take this from you. And now he's telling them when he take this from them, he's showing them what will be if you can't maintain yourself. I'm going to start taking all your stuff away, slowly but surely. And then let's read verse 32. Go ahead.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand.
So he's like, your sons and daughters, I'm going to give them to another people. Think about what he's telling them. I'm going to give your sons, children of Israel, and children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm going to give your sons and daughters to another people, and you're going to be looking for your children, and you're not going to be able to find them now. Let's skip down to verse 36. Go ahead, verse 36.
The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
I'm going to tell you some of what a wood and stone god is. Money. That's exactly what money is made from. The paper is made from wood, and the coin is made from stone.